Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to HG Radio, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Here is your co-founder and host, Kim Becker.
Hello, gorgeous, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and this is Hello, Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration on Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. And my guest today is Becky Kuehn. Becky is a master esthetician and cosmetologist, founder of Oncology Spa Solutions, and the author of Life-Changing Esthetics. Her journey started at age 18 when she was diagnosed with cancer. As a cancer survivor over 3 decades, she's made it her mission to discover and develop ways to turn around the devastating side effects of cancer treatments and return quality of life to those in need. Hi, Becky, and welcome to the show.
Hello, Kim, and thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how grateful I was. I think it was Geraldine that actually made the introduction. And so as I was looking at your bio and at your website, the importance of what you do is amazing, because we have found that people are not trained through beauty school the considerations that you need to have for a woman battling cancer when she steps into your salon. And so I'm so excited that, that your life journey, and so you tell the story. I want to know a little bit more about your cancer journey before we delve into your professional journey. So at 18, you were diagnosed with cancer. What type of cancer? How did they find it? Because that's not typical.
Correct. Well, I was a year out of high school and planning a wedding. And I started having a period that lasted for 2.5 months. And at the time, I didn't have a gynecologist. You went to your regular doctor, and I went to my doctor and said, "What's going on?" And basically they said, "Oh, it's probably just stress." So I said, okay, planning a wedding, I suppose that would probably be part of it. So I went on to get married, and on my honeymoon, I ended up in the hospital. Hemorrhaging and bleeding. And they did whatever they do there to take specimens. And it wasn't until I got back home about 3 weeks later, I get a phone call from a doctor who tells me that I have a very rare form of uterine cancer. And he quite doesn't know what to do. So he's going to send me down to the Swedish Tumor Institute in Seattle. So you can imagine, I have never forgotten that phone call. Being at home, getting that kind of news on the phone, I was in total shock. You have your whole life ahead of you, and now you just heard the C word. Not a fun thing to hear.
No. And here you're 18, like you said, you've got your whole life ahead of you. You're like still in the honeymoon phase of your marriage. So this should be the time where you're staying up late and going to bed late and going out for breakfast early mornings. And now you have to deal with this.
Correct. Yeah, it kind of changed the whole forecast of the future. So then, going down to the Tumor Institute and being told again that this was such a rare form of uterine cancer that what he said was there was only one other person that he knew of with this type of cancer, and they were 42. So they said, "We don't really know how to treat this, but we're going to, he didn't say he's going to wing it, but we're going to try a few things and we'll see what happens." And I'm just going to say, I've always said this, God intervened because he had a different plan for me, because the doctor at the time said, you will probably lose all your girly parts. You'll probably be on chemo for a very long time, but bottom line is you won't have any children. And I didn't want that to be my future, because my whole life I couldn't wait to be a mom. So I just, really prayed about that and said, God, if this is your plan, I know that you'll, get me where you need me to be, but I'd really like to have kids. So I'm asking you to heal me completely. And he did. So I went through 1 round of chemo, and I did that because the doctor begged me. And because he really had to talk me into it. I told him, no, I'm healed. I don't need chemo, and did it anyway, because he said that I would be selfish, because I would be taking myself away from my family if I, died. And he told me I was dumb. So I said, all right, I'll do 1 round. And it kind of got me into understanding why, and I still hear this today. So that was 40 years ago, but I still hear people today say, they do the treatment, they do the chemo or whatever when they did not want to, because they either were made to feel like they didn't know what they were doing, or somebody else in their circle pressured them to do it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that happens. And I'm sure you've heard that story before
I
too.
have heard that. I have heard that too. Yes. So you went through one round of chemo and that was it.
Yep. That was my deal. I told him I would do one. He really wanted me to do more, and I think he thought he could talk me into more. But ended up going back to the same doctor who had done a diagnostic DNC before the treatment, before the healing, and then afterwards as well. And it's completely gone. So I am cancer free and have been for 41 years.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing
Oh,
story.
cool part. I had 3 kids.
Yay, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. And science can't explain why the cancer's not there anymore.
Correct. The doctor who did the second diagnostic said, all I can say is I saw what I saw and it's not there. And not only that, he said, your uterus had many holes in it and it's all gone. So, God, when he does it, he does it right. He
Yes,
brought it
that's
back
right.
not only as good as it was before, but probably even better.
That's right. And you've done exactly what he wanted you to do too, which is you've taken that healing and you've used it to spread the word, because you couldn't have done that. They always say that to God be the glory when something like that happens, right? Because there's
Right.
no way that you could have done it on your own. It had to have been divine intervention. You could not have healed that from the inside out on your own. That is phenomenal. What a testimony.
Yes,
That's
and
awesome.
even the doctors had to agree, which I loved. Yes, yes. And so
Yeah, it was a miracle.
that's my story. And I knew that God had a plan for me. And I knew that there was going to be a way that I was going to take not only the sharing of the healing, and that, God is a God of healing, but that I would also be able to, turn this into the help that people need when they're going through cancer treatment. And, here's an interesting thing is, back then, so I only had one round of chemo. My hair came out in clumps. I had mouth sores and a lot of the side effects, but there wasn't anybody to help with anything back then.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you fast forward to 41 years, you would think there would be a lot of help with that type of situation in today's world, but it's not as much as you would think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, there's a gap there. So who can step in and help when someone's going through this, to help with the comfort and the care and, the things aesthetically that matter. We know that the doctor is concerned about curing the cancer and taking care of the patient on that level, and that's great, and that's what we want them to do. But there also needs to be somebody that can, hold their hand and help them when they're missing their eyebrows and their eyelashes, and they look in the mirror and they don't recognize themselves. And that's, one of the things that I love about what Hello Gorgeous is doing. That is such an important part of healing in the psychosocial aspect of a human being. So you guys are doing wonderful things.
Well, thank you. I always tell people I have the best job in the whole world.
Mhm.
And to your point about the doctors, that's what I just said that to my sister the other day. I said, if I could coin a phrase, it would be the doctor's job is to cure your cancer, and my job is to make sure you look really good while you're going through it.
Exactly.
That's really it. And what I have found, and you can probably talk to this point as well, it's not just about making her feel good while she's going through the cancer treatment. It's the ripple effect at that, right? She's going to be a better mom because she looks good, or she feels like she looks good. She's going to participate in her kids' sporting events. She's going to go to work, and she's going to be, more engaging at work. She's going to be a better wife because of the way all our looks I think anyway, when you're going through something like that, that the look has a lot to do with that. So when you feel better about the way that you look, you have an opportunity, or you want to participate in your normal life. Do you agree with that?
Correct. Otherwise, they withdraw. And
That's right.
you hear the kids go, "Mom, please don't come to the school because I don't want anyone to see you like that." But if they can have some, and this is the one thing we're talking about, not a glam look, we're talking about a normal look. And that's what we can help them feel like themselves, so that they can go to the school, they can go to work, they can go to the grocery store. I have a story one time about a lady who she came in to see me. And she was, real quiet and kind of sad. And I said, so what's going on? What happened to you today? And she said she had a cute little turban on her head, no eyebrows, no eyelashes, and her skin was very red. And that was a side effect of one of her medications. And she said, because of the way I look, I don't go anywhere, but I thought because I was coming to see you today that I would stop at the grocery store. And I haven't done that in a long time. So I went to the grocery store. She goes, I'm standing in line, and somebody up in front turned around, looked at her, took a double take, and then went, oh my God, don't you know about sunscreen? And I said, what did you say to her? And she said, well, I figured I had two choices, educate her or kick her butt. I said, what did you do? And she said, oh, I educated her. I told her I had cancer. And of course, then the lady was, super embarrassed. But she said, that's why I don't go anywhere. People, stare, and people always want to, sometimes ask, but usually just stare and make me feel so uncomfortable. So, because she came in to me and we hydrated her, and I covered her those little red spots with some mineral powder, and I put her eyebrows on and gave her a little look of lashes and some lip gloss, and, totally turned her around. She said, now I can go anywhere. Now I can do. And that's why we do what we do.
That's right. Well, and it's interesting because I always say, like when I teach the certifications that we do when we go into salons, and I always tell them, same thing. It's not about the glam look. I don't promise that you're going to look like Miss America when I get done with you today. But what I want is I want you to go to a restaurant, and I want the waitress to treat you badly. Because she'll treat you badly because there's no pity on you, right? There's no empathy. It's just, you're just a normal client when you get poor service or she treats you badly. So that's my standard thing, right? Because that's just it. People don't understand. And that one look and that one stare and that one comment, they don't understand that how that impacted her for a long time. I'm sure she always remembers, after somebody would make that comment, I wouldn't want to leave my house either.
Correct.
So it's just, it really is all about education. It really is. So tell me about the Oncology Spa Solutions. Tell me about that program.
Okay, so we're back to the gap, right? There's a need, and there's many, many cancer patients, about 1.7 million every year in the U.S. So they need us, and they need us to be trained. So, in talking to you, it started with me being in a hospital and finding out, I would always ask the questions, what did your doctor have you put on that? What does your doctor have you, or what does he say about this? And most of the time, the answer was, well, they don't know. They just said it's part of the side effects, so just kind of deal with it. So to me, that wasn't the right answer. I wanted there to be something else. And so in my particular location, just starting right there, it was like, okay, I need to educate the doctors, but then we need to be educated. Mm-hmm. And so, I learned and studied and talked to my doctor group and found out everything that I could about how I could help safely. Because as you mentioned earlier, the beauty schools up until this last year, so in January of 2019 is the first time that working on a cancer patient was not a contraindication. And I was blessed to be asked to put something in the new training books this year. So this year, instead of saying it's a contraindication, they now say, you can work on a cancer patient, but you need to be trained. So I put together a training program, wrote a whole program, which I call Life-Changing Esthetics, because it's not only life-changing for the person that you're working with, but it's also life-changing for the spa professional. You know how rewarding it is to work with somebody who needs us like this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So,
yes.
It was like, okay, what can we do? What should we do? It's the basics. It's learning about, what medication are they on? What are the side effects or contraindications? What kind of surgery have they had? Have they had lymph nodes removed? All of those things come into play when you're doing a spa treatment, and you need to know all of that prior to touching somebody. And
That's
so
right.
We started, I've been doing it almost 13 years. I've got about over 5,000 people now that I've trained in the US. But there's many more that need it. And there are many more cancer patients who need a trained person in their area. So, my goal and mission is to make sure that anybody who works with clients knows and understands what questions need to be asked and how to customize a treatment specifically for the safety of a cancer patient so that we
That's
can
right.
touch them and we can give them that blessing and we can help them, turn their world around.
Well, and our stories are quite parallel because, that's what happened with me in the beginning when we would do the Hello Gorgeous makeovers and we would offer it to somebody and they would say, no, my doctor said I can't have a manicure or pedicure. And I would say,
Mhm.
well, why not? Well, I don't know. They just told me I can't have one. I'm like, okay. And so we kept getting that over and over and over again. And the same thing with the facial. Nope, my doctor said I shouldn't have that service. Again, same question. Well, why not? I don't know. He just told me I can't. So I went back to the doctors and nurses. And I said, look, why are you telling these women that they can't have these services done? This is when they need them. This is when they need to feel pampered. This is when they need to have somebody reach out and touch them and rub their hand or their foot, whatever it may be. And it was the risk of infection that they could not take a chance on being in a situation that could possibly, stall or halt their treatment altogether. And so that's what we did was we went in and the training program that we provide is it's very similar where we educate you. These are all any of the red flags that the doctors threw up. We tried to take those and combat that in our program with disposable liners in the pedicure bath and disposable liners in the manicure bowls. And, everything is disposable. And we don't use anything it all has to be brand new that's used on her one time. We don't use a nail polish on somebody else and then use it on her while, during the makeover, she gets a brand new bottle of nail polish because we couldn't find out whether bacteria could be transferred, inside the nail polish. And so, it's that same thing, right? It's educating. And what you're doing is amazing because you're teaching people how to ask the right questions.
Yes.
I think that's so important. In the beginning of our program, we had seated massage, and I took it out because you can do too much damage, just like what you said. Do you have a port? Have you had lymph nodes removed? If you're dealing with somebody that had a mastectomy and for them in a seated massage, they have to lean forward and it's just not comfortable. But, it really is educating or bringing the awareness to our industry of letting people know, look, there are questions you need to ask. You just can't assume that just because she doesn't look like she has cancer, that she doesn't have cancer, number one. And number two, don't assume that you can do all the regular things on this woman that's sitting there that looks like she has cancer that you can do on your client just before her that doesn't have cancer, because it doesn't work like that.
Right. And one of my goals is to make people really be mindful and present. And that means every client is going to be a different treatment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of this autopilot that people can tend to get into. And especially if you've been in the industry a long time, you do a facial, you do all the same moves. You do a massage, you do the same moves, right? That's not the way it should be. It should be based on, like individual care for that person who's sitting in front of you right here, right now. What do they need? And let's ask the questions and then let's give them what they need. And the really awesome part is that anybody that's been trained in any aspect of the spa world can work on a cancer patient as long as they know what they're doing.
That's right.
And that means that a cancer patient or somebody who has gone through cancer can pretty much have all the treatments. So it might be customized a little bit because of their needs, but it's still going to be a wonderful treatment and some care that they need.
That's right. And I think that's it. One of the reasons that, we started the program was because we saw the difference, but we started the affiliate program because we're all licensed to touch. So to your point, you're right. Everybody has the opportunity to provide these services for a cancer patient, but they have to understand that there's a difference and they have to be educated. But also, I think too, what you've done is like with the client, it's educating the clients as well too. Do you agree?
Yes.
It's also
Absolutely.
making it that they're going in and they're asking the questions of their stylist. Hey, I'm a cancer survivor. Can you do this? Can we make a difference? Educating them on how to ask those questions too, I think is important.
Right, because for the most part, they don't know. A lot of times when we're having the lymph node conversation, they'll say, well, how come nobody told me this? Like, well, at first I thought, I don't know why the doctor's not telling me this. I went back to my
That's
doctor
right.
and they go, oh, yeah, we told him, but we told him so many things that, that probably was not something that stuck until it had to. So
That's right.
they do hear about lymph nodes and, they know what they can and can't do in regards to that, but they don't know what to ask. And I usually tell them, it's okay if you don't come to me, but make sure you don't let anyone touch you in the massage or hand treatment, arm treatment, anything like that, unless they've asked you if you've had lymph nodes removed.
That's
So
right.
if they do that, then they're going to know how to customize the treatment for you, and that's what you want. And they love that. When it comes to that, or when it comes to ingredients, I know that that's a big thing in today's world. We're really starting to
Yeah.
understand what's in our personal care products. That's another part of the education that I do both for the students and for the patients, because it's important. What is our toxic load? What are we putting on our body? And when somebody is going through cancer treatments and they've got a suppressed immune system and, low blood counts, myelosuppression, they need really clean, safe products. And,
Hmm.
they're not always available, or let's put it this way, easy to find,
That's
unless
right.
you're
That's right.
looking. Yeah.
That's right. We're really lucky because we have an organic skincare company that we partner with that provides products for us for our facials, actually. And we went to a seminar that they had put on, and they made edible brownies, and the punch was like the probiotic toner, except it didn't have the witch hazel in it. And, it was so much. So they're food grade organics that they put on, and the nail polish we use is plant based. And so I am so on the same path with you
Good.
altogether because of that. So we just have a couple minutes left. So tell me what's on the horizon for you for 2020 and beyond.
So for the last 12 years, I've done a combination of mostly aesthetics, but I've had some hairstylist programs thrown in there. But going into next year, we're really rolling out a little bit more. So we've got so many people that are coming to us from the nail tech world. So we've got the nail class that's launching this next year, as well as a new and improved hairstylist program. So again, just making sure that everybody with that license to touch, we're 006, because there's only 6 professions that are legally able to touch people in the US. So I want to make sure that all of them that are under the spa world know and understand how to care for a cancer patient and do it safely, so that somebody going through this is going to get the care that they need without having to worry about any harm.
That's right. And I think that, like I said, that's the biggest thing. And even just bringing awareness in our industry, letting people know that they need to be asking better questions, I think is huge. So speaking of questions, and what's the biggest myth that you've had to work with?
I love that question, because people have almost always, every time I get interviewed, not you, because you know and understand this, but everyone always asks me, isn't it sad or depressing to work with this client? And I'm telling you, that is the biggest myth right there. And it is not. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And I'm like you, Kim. I tell people I have the best job in the world, because to be able to take somebody who feels sad and down when they come to see you and just give them a little bit of love, a little bit of pampering, touch, and personal care turns them around so much that they cry, they hug, they laugh, they giggle. I've had a little of everything, and it is the opposite of depressing. I would say it is the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Amen.
Yep.
So tell me, give people the website. Where can they find you and more information about your programs?
Awesome. Thank you. I am at oncologyspasolutions.com. We also have a Facebook page. But you can go to the website and you can see the classes that we're offering. We have about 50 classes a year, and we also offer the course online. And it's available for anybody in the spa world that's interested in learning how to customize treatments for somebody going through or has gone through cancer.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Becky. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to share all of this information, and we're going to change the world together. So I'm excited to do that.
Amen. You got it. And thank you, Kim. Keep up the wonderful work that you're doing. We need to help you get into more states, because I love your program. Yes. So let's talk about maybe in the future collaborating somehow so that we can get you in all the rest of the states you're not in.
I would love that.
Yay.
For more information about our guest today, feel free to contact me at kbecker@hellogorgeous.org or visit our website, www.hellogorgeous.org. And we invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and download our mobile app. Thank you for joining me today on Hello Gorgeous, Everything Beauty, Cancer, and Inspiration. I'm your host, Kim Becker. And until next time, stay gorgeous.